Hello everyone, welcome back to the Mystique Micah YouTube channel. Today I have a very special guest with me. This is my grandmother, Deborah Sanchez. Me and her, we watched Naruto, the anime, from January 2021 to August 2021, and we both really loved it. So, I really wanted to get her perspective out there. She has really interesting ideas and just everything, So I have a few questions from the community, from myself, from my friends. And yeah, let's get right on to it. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Deborah Sanchez. I'm a Smooch language teacher, which is one of the Chumash languages. So in our language, we'd say, Haku kichi chantik, hello friends. Shakswale hukuku kakti Smooch. My name in Chumash is She Loves the People. Huela Sanchi kakti Ingles. And that means I'm Deborah Sanchez in English. Kapanish Humulo ki Swahili. My ancestral village is Swahili. Hi Nakalamu hi Limu, and that means on the island of Limu. And Kushishi Nakutiyu means I'm happy to see you all. I was a lawyer for almost 20 years. I have a degree, Juris Doctorate degree. I also have a bachelor's degree in sociology. And right now I'm in a full-time master's program at Cal State University Long Beach, where I am mastering in linguistics. I also teach one class there. It's American Indians and the Law, and I've been teaching that since 2013.
All right. Let's just start with a very simple question. Let's just say, how did you like the overall series?
Oh, I loved it. I think Micah introduced me to it, and once we started watching it, we had just finished watching Dragon Balls, the whole thing. And then we started watching Naruto, and there was just really something different about it. I think, especially after Naruto starts to get a little bit older, the characters become more familiar. You see the interaction and the interchange between the characters, and he starts to develop some depth of personality, I think, as he starts to grow older. They're facing more challenges, and so you really become invested in the characters, and I did love it.
That's another thing I love about Naruto, just the character work, just everything about the characters is fantastic to me. And, another basic question, who's your favorite character of them all?
Okay, so I think that everyone should have Naruto as their favorite character, but when you're making it some comparisons, Kakashi was my favorite. I loved him.
Oh, and, my God.
And I even have a Kakashi, if you see him sitting on the table, I have a Kakashi phone cover. I have a Kakashi mouse pad. And I bought another phone cover.
Oh my God. You bought another one?
Yeah, Kakashi with Rasengan. And then but that didn't fit my phone. But I kept it because Kakashi was on there.
What would you say?
I have a shirt too.
Oh my, yeah, you're right.
I have a Naruto shirt, a Kakashi shirt, a Kurama shirt, and I have the ramen shirt.
Oh yeah, Ichiraku ramen.
Ramen, and you do too.
Oh yeah, I do.
I bought me one, and I bought you one.
Yeah, I also have an Itachi shirt. You got me that one.
Oh, I have an Itachi shirt too.
Yeah. So, what would you say is so alluring about Kakashi? Like, when did you start really liking him?
Oh, gosh. I think in the beginning I liked him because he was cool.
Yeah.
He was aloof, kind of like he didn't brag about what he could do. He just did it. And even like when the kids were a little out of hand, and, the kids, I talk about Team 7, but when they were a little bit out of hand, he like showed them. So he put his money where his mouth was. So he showed them by his just pure skill. And I think too, but when I really fell in love with him, when you hear his backstory.
Yeah.
When you hear his backstory, you just can't help but love him because of everything that he's been through. And here he is too, helping young people to develop into an amazing shinobi.
Yeah. So now let's get into some questions from the community. First question. I'm not reading that username, but who is your favorite villain?
Oh gosh, I think I don't even know if you could say it was a villain. I could say favorite villain and the most hated villain, but I think my favorite villain, I guess if you could say that, was Itachi but in a sense, he wasn't really a villain.
Yeah.
So it's hard to put him in that category. I think when you find out what his motives were and his reasonings and how he loved his brother and when he had his final moments, you really can love him a lot. Yeah. So in a way, I guess if he's a villain, he would be my favorite villain. One of my worst ones was Dedra. The one with the hand that.
Oh, Datara?
Datara.
Oh yeah, she really didn't like Datara.
I didn't like him. He was mean and he was ugh.
Yeah.
Having plaster coming out of your hand is weird. It's just weird.
Yeah. I had a question about him actually. So since you brought him up, I remember something interesting about our watch through that I didn't really see anyone else do. Is that when Obito told Sasuke about everything that happened, you did not believe him, like, at all. And you only started believing when he got reanimated and you really saw him without any mental restrictions. So I want to ask you, like, 3 questions. Okay. What did you think of him before you knew anything? All you knew is that he killed the clan. And then part 2... Itachi.
Oh, yes.
And then part 2, what did you think about him even after Obito told you the truth and you still didn't really believe him? And and then part 3.
I was skeptical.
Yeah, you were really skeptical.
I was like, no.
and I remember I was like trying to lead you to it. You know, he kind of did, but no,
I don't like him.
Okay,
yeah, okay.
And then part 3, what'd you think of him after you believed the truth?
They like to put people through the ringer. That's what I think. But when I first found out he killed his own mother and father, and everybody else, and he was mean to his brother even though he didn't kill him, I thought that's despicable person, because he killed everybody. And I just thought, oh my, even to take a life, it's such a, even no matter in what form, it's such an impact on us as human beings, that how could a person rise to that level to kill their own parent? I did not like him. I thought he was despicable. And I know you tried to lead me into, thinking that maybe he had a good side, but there I was like, no way.
Yeah.
And even after Obito said that Obito said what the truth was, I still didn't believe it. I kind of said, because the fact is that he still killed everybody. And I thought there was no measure of explanation that could atone for that. I just didn't think that was true. Because that was the whole clan.
Yeah.
Sheesh. And then finally, what did I think afterward? My heart softened a lot. But in particular, it softened when his exchange with his brother. And also, really another part that was really had an impact on me is when Itachi and Naruto that really touched me too, because through Naruto, he was also ensuring that his brother would be loved and protected. Yeah. And also, he assisted Naruto as well. So I think that when you look at his exchange with his brother, you get the soften, but that's his brother. But also the fact that he assisted Naruto, not only physically, but like mentally. And also wanted to ensure his brother's future. I think that's what really endeared me to him.
Yeah. He was a hero. He was absolutely a hero.
And he had an amazing ability too. And I think the shirt that I have is Itachi standing like on a mountaintop with the crows.
Yeah.
Flying around.
So this one is from Definitely Human 000. Which character do you think deserved more screen time? Which character do you think wish you had?
Sasuke. Oh my gosh. I mean, he kept me missing for years and years and years and episodes with it. All they did is like reference him, or I felt like they really missed the boat on that one, because Sasuke, he's a complicated person.
Yeah.
It's hard to like him, really, in some ways. It's really hard because he's missing and he's not responsive, and people try to love him and help him and show him, and but they definitely didn't give him enough screen time. Yeah. It's like, here's this complex character, but we're going to bait you through now, and then you're going to wait 10 episodes and see him again. Yeah. And so it's like, already.
I understand, in the beginning of Shippuden, the first arc didn't have him, and then the second arc, they were building up to him, but then they started.
But gosh, throw us a crumb.
Throw us a little bit of a crumb.
What the heck? Waiting, and so Sasuke definitely had, and that's, I don't know. There was something about that, and I just, one of the scenes that comes to mind is when, Sakura's trying to convince him to stay, and he's gonna leave, and he's behind her, and he says, "Thank you."
So, what character? Same person. What character do you think is the most well written, most complex to you?
Oh. Well. Oh gosh, there's so many.
There really is so many.
I think Naruto's one, but there's also Jiraiya. Jiraiya has you don't really find out too much about his real ancient past, but you kind of see how he grew up. We see him when he's a kid. You see him, in love with Tsunade. You see him what the immense power, his relationships with the Toads. All of that, I think that is a really developed, but it could have been more. And I think for all of them, I mean, this series could have went on and on. I would have gladly watched more than 500 episodes.
Oh my god! You know what? I wanted to save this question for a little bit towards the end, but we did get a little bit more in Boruto.
Yeah.
You know what? So here's what happened. After we had watched everything with Naruto, we started Boruto, and we watched the first 7 episodes of it, and we hated it. We absolutely hated it. Can you tell me your grievances with Boruto?
So grievances are huge. My grievances are huge with that. Okay, so I think when you watch Naruto, it builds up to this conclusion. It should have been an extension of what has happened, but here you have my number one grievance is, how can you have Hinata and Naruto raising a kid that is like that? It just doesn't seem right. Not only would you think that he would be skilled, but he would be disciplined. He would be loving because of his parents. They have a lot of love to express. They were positive. And to have Boruto come out, and yes, it's almost like they took the present, I don't know if this is necessarily in Japan, but in the United States, like an impression of how young people are. And so it's like they put this negative, cast him in this negative light to be rude and just obviously a disdain for his own father, who was everything that Naruto went through as a Hokage and to be, and a mother that also has been through a lot, but that delicate love, and then he comes out like that. It was incredible. That's a problem.
And I think
that's a huge problem.
And I think another thing, Naruto seems so out of character in this. He missed out on his daughter's birthday.
Yeah, that's cool.
Not even worse, he sends a shadow clone.
Yeah.
And here's a guy that knows what it's like to not grow up with parents at all. It's so...
No, and then you raised something else for that with me. Is that, so one thing is that must have been another universe, because that's no way that Naruto would have. It's almost as if they were trying to squash Naruto down to build Boruto up.
Yeah.
And that wasn't right. It just wasn't right. You cannot take somebody that was the hero of 500 episodes, start this other series that was less credible in terms of its anime and its animation. It's less credible in the storyline. It was less credible in terms of people's understanding, because we live that. We live that in that universe of Naruto.
Yeah.
So when you show us Boruto, it's like we know we're not in the same place. This isn't the same world. This isn't the same. It makes no sense to have that character it
Yeah.
be the character he was with the parents that he had and the past.
Exactly.
It just doesn't make any sense.
I know.
So that's a different universe.
Yeah, that's
we're gonna discount that.
Yeah, we're just gonna discount that.
I was like, no, I can't watch one more episode.
So Portable Mammal 1199 says, what was your least favorite villain?
My least favorite? The puppet master.
Sasori?
Yeah, I didn't like Sasori at all. The reason I thought because let me put it this way, I felt like it was a chicken shit. I'm gonna send my puppets out there to get you, and they're all
Yeah.
And I did not like him, and I just thought that he seemed more like more cut off from his feelings, and then even later when he's revealed as not being the in the form that you see him under, right? That's just, and then also it's also like he stole the puppets.
Oh yeah.
He stole the puppets, and then he made the puppets for I think at the end, I think when they're in that cave and the grandmother's there, and I just kind of felt like he was like not fair, and I didn't like him.
So
I didn't like him.
Not a very strong first villain for Shippuden, huh?
I know, and I didn't like him, but I mean he made the show interesting because of what you saw, but I didn't like him. I didn't really like him, but I like him as a character, but I didn't like him as a villain.
So there's a very big controversy. It's still discussed in the Naruto fandom. I believe you remember the final villain, Kaguya Otsutsuki. Mm-hmm. A lot of people thought Madara should have been the final villain. So I just wanted, this is from ETA 133. Did Kaguya satisfy you as a final villain?
No, it took the plot. It took the plot off the road, I think, too, because Madara's been. We're waiting to see that defeat, right? We're waiting to see Madara defeated in a sense, but I felt like it was a misstep.
Yeah.
It should have been Madara, and I do believe that. Now, they could have had it to where that was like a subplot or sub villain. But Madara should have been the ultimate, because this is what we've been waiting for scene after scene and episode after episode to see this final battle.
Yeah.
And when it's really this guy, it doesn't make sense.
And plus the transition is like
Black
Zetsu set up the entirety of Shinobi history.
Yeah.
And that's so.
It didn't make sense because you don't see any of that. You don't even get a hint of the power lying underneath. So I think too, for fans, I mean, if we're watching every episode, we know what's going on.
Yeah.
So if you're going to switch plot at the end, it for people that have been watching all along, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And you kind of assume that people are watching for years. I mean, I think we watched 10 episodes a week.
Yeah, and then on Saturdays we do like 20.
Yeah, we do some more, and in the meanwhile I watch all the movies too.
Yeah.
And then the filler episodes, I would watch those, and I watched all of them. I watched all of them. I just felt like the fillers were important to me because I hadn't read the manga.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I think. I agree with the fans that are saying that it should have been the other way around.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I don't know how to pronounce that name, but I'll put it up on screen. They're talking about controversial characters among the community. We already touched on Sasuke. Let's talk about Sakura. Everything this lady did was controversial to the fandom. Her first introduction, her fight with Ino, a lot of things in Shippuden. The fake love confession to Naruto, which I definitely understand. So just, what was your opinion on Sakura?
I like Sakura, but that's the problem is in the real world, we have people like that.
Yeah.
That are like opposites of stuff. So, for example, Ino tried to show her this love too, right? and then she gets mad when they're young, and she's mad at her, right?
Yeah.
So she's mad, and she's mean to her, and I think that rivalry exists, but maybe I don't know who the writers were, if they were all men, but if the rivalry between young women might have been found a different way.
Yeah.
Right? It wouldn't be as overt as I think that they showed it. The other thing about Sakura that bothered me a lot, and I told you this over and over.
Oh,
Don't get me wrong, fans. I like her. But she would, every time she was mad at Naruto
Oh,
or do something,
yeah.
she would pound on him. And I thought, that's so unfair because she knew that Naruto loved her.
Yeah.
And she would just beat him. And also that Naruto's not going to attack back. He's not that kind of a man, I guess, or a young man.
Yeah.
For a character, but he's real to me.
Yeah.
And so that bothered me a lot. And I was there were times where I just really didn't like what she did. I thought what's underneath that? And I wish that the writers would have given us a little bit more insight into why she was so abusive.
Yeah.
Because she was abusive to Naruto.
Yeah, absolutely.
She was abusive. And that she was so dedicated and loyal to Sasuke, no matter what happened. And even at the very end of the last Naruto movie, she talks about, but she says, she was telling Naruto, like, I understand what it's like to, like, love somebody and hold this flame, but it wasn't a secret either.
Yeah.
I mean, he knew that she loved him. But I do think that that abusiveness, physical abusiveness, was never really explained.
Yeah, and I will say, the blame does fall on the writer, but I do think some of it does fall on Japanese humor, because that is very prevalent in many manga and anime. It's so tired. It's such a tired trope, and I'm glad we're finally getting away from it. I think.
Oh, that's good. And we talked about that before. You and I had conversations while we were watching Naruto about that kind of physical abusiveness, and then also men, being abused like that. I didn't appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like her as a character, of course, and there were many good things about her, and even her own complexities of self-doubt. And also being in love with someone that she might never be able to have. Even though things change, but I think too that love that can never be really fulfilled, even after it's not really fulfilled.
Yeah,
he's not really there.
So. Yeah, he's always like out on missions and stuff like that. Yeah,
exactly, and it's kind of like it's by choice.
Yeah. So we already touched on Itachi, Danzo. Everyone hates Danzo, so just go off on him.
I'm joining you on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy, he bothers me a lot. I think especially at that one of the epic battles where he has all the eyes.
Oh yeah.
It's like he's like he's like Putin in the world to me. He's like he's ready to damage anybody to get what he wants. He's ready to kill anybody to get what he wants. He has no mercy, no remorse, no conscience. And see, this is the thing about what makes a villain complicated. Yeah. There's some aspect in there of that, either explanatory about why they're doing what they're doing, or there's some measure of even the slightest possibility of regaining some sensibilities. And some more, quote, humanity within them. But he didn't really have that. I do not actively remember any episode that made me feel softened towards them, which is almost everybody else I did.
Yeah, every single other villain has something that you can really hold on to, but Danzo was just...
Even Dedra with his art.
Yeah, even Dedra
was an artist.
Art. Yeah,
but Danzo was... and he's a liar. He was just a flat out liar. So.
Yeah,
so I agree with everybody.
So let me see what Orochimaru. I know. I think I don't remember, but maybe you did soften towards him towards the end. But tell me your opinion on Orochimaru.
Well, Orochimaru, I wish I would have known more about why he he went in the manner that he did. I think, because I also teach like historical events of genocide throughout the world, and I know about those things. So I think Orochimaru, one of the things is by doing experiments on people and offering them like false, even like it's almost as if he's offering them some artificial love, or like he's gonna care for them, or you're gonna do me this favor, and then he experiments on them and ruins their bodies and their lives, and that really bothers me.
Yeah.
And also, I think that there should have been a way for Tsunade and Jiraiya and Orochimaru to have some kind of collective camaraderie, because they were together.
Yeah, just, before Jiraiya died, a little bit of a conversation.
Oh, there's something like that, yeah. And then I think, too, when you meet his son later, you really get... I really like that. And the fact, too, that it's something beyond him.
Yeah.
So Orochimaru finally has something beyond himself to care for, to love, or to relate with.
Yeah.
And I thought that was good.
Yeah.
But he kind of like... And then there were times, too, where he just... it was like stand down.
Yeah.
Right? So it was before he might do anything he could to hurt someone or to create chaos.
Yeah.
But other times, like, it's not my battle. I'm just going to stand here.
Yeah. And that's another thing you said while we were watching Boruto. You wished Sarada and Mitsuki were the main characters.
Yeah, I know. Because Boruto was, to me, I felt like he didn't make sense as Naruto's child. And it was almost like, the way I felt was that it was almost a discredit to Naruto. And to all of us, I think, as fans, as people that are, following this story for episode after 500 episodes, I mean, and then to create that afterward, it was like a slap in the face.
Yeah.
Slap in the face to the fans and to the characters
Absolutely.
of the original. It's like, I was not happy with that at all.
Yeah, I completely get that. So, what was your favorite storyline? Your favorite arc?
Oh boy, that's... Oh, okay. So one of my early favorites, when Team 7 is together and they're training, it makes me want to cry.
So...
But one of my favorite arcs is when Team 7 is out there. Kakashi is sitting in a tree reading his book.
Yeah.
Right? And he's like... And they have to get the bells from him.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so then they go for lunch. And Naruto's in trouble, so he's tied up. And he's not going to have lunch. And it's Sasuke that's going to share his lunch, right? So here's Sasuke, who develops over time. And they really miss that, I think, by not giving him more time, more depth, more background.
Yeah.
But... So then, and Sakura goes along with Sasuke to feed Naruto. To give, and you hear Naruto's stomach grumbling, right? And they give him his lunch, and here comes Kakashi, and like, he sees everything, right?
Yeah.
He could be reading a book, but he's also very aware of what they're doing.
Yeah.
But because he has that development of his sensibilities, right? So he comes down and... They're willing to risk everything to go back in order to feed their teammate. Yeah. Although it's really Sasuke.
Yeah.
Sakura follows him, but she follows him because he's Sasuke. It's not really out of her own consciousness, but they both do it.
Yeah.
And so he says, this is exactly what I wanted, right? And I remember the smile on Kakashi's face.
Yeah.
It's kind of like he had the two little arcs under his eyes.
He's so... the animation is so great because his whole face is covered, but you still know what emotion he's conveying.
Absolutely. So that's early on one of my absolute favorites because it really shows, it's like, oh gosh. And I think too, it's like the saying later on in the show, the Obito, he thought White Fang was a hero.
Yeah.
And White Fang was a hero. Really.
Yeah, absolutely.
We all know that. White Fang was a hero for sure. But at the sacrifice of his son grew up without a father. And then but the people that leave their friends behind are less than scum, right? So you can break the rules and be scum, but I think that the point of that is that this humanity that's implanted in all of us as human beings, that is the number one.
Yeah.
Because the principles, rules, discipline, we need that. And especially in these places where they had to fight for their town and their village and for their lives and for humanity, protect the people. You know, you have to have that discipline and that training. And also my dad is a black belt in Shotokan, and I trained in karate when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And so I went for a long time, and karate has saved my butt, you know, in life, you know, just to even the gravity, I think more than anything, the gravity of pulling someone forward and then knocking them down. But I think too, when you look at these characters, you need that. But more than anything, it's kind of like iRobot. Remember when the girl is drowning?
Oh yeah.
And the robot makes a decision to save him and not her because there was only a 10% chance. Well, the human beings are amazing, and the force of the human will, whether it's physically capable or not, will overcome anything that we think you can calculate by it's percentage wise. Well, it's not likely that that's going to happen because that person is only 5'3", or it's not likely that that's going to happen because that person hasn't trained for a year, or whatever it is. But the force of human will, that's the thing that will carry you beyond. It will carry you beyond your physical and mental limitations. And that's what that showed, is that, you know, but the thing to Kakashi's favor, he turned around and went back.
Yeah.
He turned around and went back, you know, and so he knew it too. And that's why I love him so much too.
I remember when we were first watching that little flashback episode, and Kakashi was all like, rules, rules, rules. You didn't recognize him at all.
Yeah, and the fact that he didn't want to teach young people, you know?
Yeah.
But he said, well, but see, that is also the wisdom of the third Hokage. Because the third Hokage recognized that he needed to have that in his life. And see, I think that's where the wisdom comes through. You're not Hokage just because you're an awesome fighter. You're a Hokage because you have the wisdom to make decisions for people, for the village, for, you know, and he saw that in Kakashi, that he needed that. And it changed everything. It really did.
Absolutely. So that's all the questions I have from the community, from Reddit. Now some questions from my own friends. This is from my friend Jess. Lovely woman. Are there any deceased characters that you think should have been killed, or that you think should have been brought back in some way?
Oh my gosh, make me cry.
Oh, come on. Asuma.
Oh no, that I cried when he died. I was so mad at the writers. Don't kill him. He got a baby on the way. He was like, oh my gosh, that scene was devastating. It was devastating. Remember, I kept talking about it through the whole series, and then even when I would see flashbacks, I was like, oh my gosh, they should never have killed him. He was so cool. I love that guy.
Yeah.
I loved him. Part of it too is because they showed him when he was kind of like rebellious against his dad.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
He's like rebellious, and then he learns things along the way, and learning to love, and even that shyness that he has, you know, in his love, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh, and his relationship, and when he died and how they held him, you know, I just...
Do you want some tissues? Are you?
No, I'm okay.
Are you sure?
But yeah, but I mean, this is real. It's like, I just remembered and it makes me cry again.
Oh.
I know, it's funny because it's a character, but when you think about it, this is what I want your viewers to know too, is that every character came out of the mind and imagination of someone. And it's not just their mind and imagination, it's the people that share things with them that help develop the character in their mind. Yes, they may ultimately be the writer, but it's life's experiences and other relationships that create that character. So when that character died, that creative light was extinguished.
Yeah.
The creative light that created Asuma, it extinguished. Yeah.
Are you sure you don't want tissues?
No, I know we're talking about characters in Naruto, but I'm saying these characters would not resonate with us as fans if there wasn't some truth to their existence.
Yeah.
So when you see the truth of Asuma, these are characteristics that live in other people.
Yeah.
And to think that anybody else, would meet that kind of demise and have that sadness, it's like, of the people, his team, that he left behind. It's like, it's very sad. That's why. That's why these are good questions.
Exactly.
Because you're asking me and I'm telling you the real.
That was beautiful. That was really beautiful. And honestly, that's another thing I know. I mean, Asuma's death, it did hit hard for a lot of people, but I think, people all saw it as like a little character device for Shikamaru's character development, which it was, but you really, really cared about. I remember whenever you'd see him with the cigarette, and he'd stop smoking. Come on.
And in Shikamaru, see, the other thing too about that is that was the adult that he bonded with, because sometimes parents are not always the one that you feel closest with. So he had that bond. Now, parents serve sometimes another purpose. I think parents, and I'm telling you all this too because I was a mother and a grandmother, is that sometimes parents, they don't always connect with their kids or even their grandkids sometimes, but mostly with the kids, is because they're afraid. They want to raise them right. They don't want anything that bad to happen to them. And so in trying to protect them and trying to save them from what they know is out there, because we've lived a long time and I've seen a lot of bad things. When you see that, you want to protect your kids, and so in order to do that, sometimes you're cutting off your connections because it's a fear, and so that kind of thing I can see Shikamaru with his dad not really having that close bond. And later they kind of seem like they develop a little bit more after Asuma died, but when he died, he didn't just die. He left his team, and also Shikamaru was left without that close adult bond.
Yeah. The
guidance that Asuma had given him as he was growing up. So.
Yeah, that I love this section of the video. This is my favorite section of the video. But you know what? I believe everything you just said, man. We already know what your favorite emotional scene is, but what would you second most favorite emotional scene?
Gosh, it's so hard because I guess if you ask me this question a week from now, I'd probably think it's something different.
Yeah.
But because we just watched the last Naruto movie and they were going over some scenes.
Yeah.
Do you remember when Hinata finally confesses her love?
Yeah.
So they have Naruto pinned down on the face floor with swords. Mm-hmm. I think there's at least 4 to 6 swords.
Oh, you mean the chakra receivers from
Pain? Yes, exactly.
Yes.
That's So he's laying down, and then everyone's afraid, and there is nobody else that's going to be able to save the world, the shinobi world, other than Naruto, in my opinion. There's no way anybody else could do it.
Yeah.
So, but he's pinned down, right? And Hinata, even though, like I said, the human will, not likely that she can defeat them.
Yeah.
So she does it for him, and she stands there confessing her love, and she says, "You changed me, Naruto. You changed me," because he never gave up, and he would always he would say, they would count him out, and he'd rise again. And this is just like human life. It's a motivation. Watching is like motivational.
Yeah.
Right? It's an inspirational. It's like saying, you could be knocked down 9 times, get up 10.
Yeah.
Get up 10, as Cardi B says, right? Get up 10. And I feel like that's kind of related in my own life, in my own way. But she confesses, and she said, "Because I love you, Naruto." and she starts fighting, and man, the odds might have been right against her, but the human will, the spirit of love, she's there. Yeah. She's going to fight for him, and that to me is one of my favorite scenes. I like I said, I have many scenes that are that I can think of. Yeah. Fun things, I think Rock Lee and all of them. They're just there's a time where Shikamaru befriends him. Yeah. When he doesn't think that he's gonna, make it, and then he was gonna have that surgery that was gonna be like it's almost like a thread if he could pass away. Yeah. if anything went. But with Tsunade, I had a lot of faith in her also. So even though they said the quote odds, yeah, I also thought, well, he'll make it. You know.
So speaking on Rock Lee, I think a fight scene that everyone goes back to. I think the number one best fight scene that everyone remembers. Gaara versus Rock Lee in the Chunin exams.
Oh,
that fight is fantastic, and I know you love Gaara so much.
I love Gaara. Okay. I did, and if you ask me a question, what's the biggest turnaround of anybody?
Oh yeah,
Gaara would be the one that I had like, I can't believe that guy, this and that, and then I kind of later I found out that his travelers were his brother and sister, right? But when you see later on his upbringing and what happened and that disdain I think too it reflects the human condition. People judge others. They judge others. And so this show was very good at showing how you could judge someone. You don't know their story. And it's like that old saying that they attribute to Native Americans. Yeah. Walk a mile in my shoes, right? Before you start saying things about somebody else. Yeah. But yeah, so that to me would be the biggest turnaround that I had, a 180. Yeah. Because I had like Gaara, and then he wasn't my most despised villain, but he became one of my favorite people. Yeah. And that shift was like 180. Yeah. It was, and then later when the scene, that's another scene when they trap when they start to collect all the tailed beasts and they have Gaara and they drain his life, and then when they bring him back, Grandma gives up her life for him, right? So it's like, I think too that any grandparent or parent worth their salt will give your life up for your child or your grandkids. There's just no doubt about it. And there's nothing that convinced me otherwise, not for me as a grandparent. But when she gave her life, and Gaara lived, and then you remember like Naruto was there with him, and and then when he came back to life, and just the fact that they shook hands at the wall, before he goes into Sand Village, he that to me was such a bond, and they talk about it throughout the series later. They talk about that connection that got made, and my friend, and that was beautiful.
So now we'll start with some questions from myself.
Okay.
I think whenever people mention Team 7, there's of course Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura, but it's never Sai.
Never Sai.
It's never. Can I ask you your opinion about Sai, and do you think he deserves his membership as Team 7?
Sai absolutely deserves his membership in Team 7. Sai was really interesting because he kind of grew up without, like emotion. He lost his brother. Yeah. Right? And so, here's this character also that probably should have gotten more development or a little more revelation of the development, because I don't know what's in the mangas. I don't know if they have more information in there, but that would have been, and he deserved it. He did so much with his with his skills, and that's one of the ways they were able to escape a lot of danger, was through the flying animals and also that he created. And also I remember at one point where they were falling, Sakura and Naruto, and Naruto's going to save her. Yeah. But the only way they keep from falling all the way to the earth is with one of those beautiful birds coming and basically swooping them up as they're falling to earth. So there's a lot of times where his beasts either slowed down the attack or saved people or rescued them from a fall. There was and he was cute, you know. He was fun. He was a lot of fun because he didn't have that same, like, he'd say the truth, right?
Yeah,
it was like he didn't have filters like to say, oh, we can't say that because of this, and he was just honest, and that's what that was very refreshing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do believe he has his place in Team 7 as well.
Yeah. Now this is another thing I really wanted to touch on. I don't know. We don't actually know how you discovered this anime, but you think I might have mentioned it, but I think you just found it on yourself, just scrolling through Netflix. Demon Slayer.
Oh, Demon Slayer. Oh.
You absolutely love Demon Slayer.
I told you for like a whole year, huh?
Yeah. So, and we finally watched it just about 2 weeks ago, and I just want to say, is there any spiritual connection between Naruto and Demon Slayer?
Absolutely. They're two different characters, but the thing that they have in common, Tanjiro and Naruto, are that pureness of heart. The thing about them is the pureness of heart. That really matters. Naruto has more of a raggedy development in terms because his parents die as heroes, but he doesn't know he has a nine-tailed beast in him in the beginning. People shun him, he doesn't know why, that kind of thing. Whereas Tanjiro lives in a more isolated space, and he loses his parents in very different ways, along with brothers and sisters that he loved. So that I see that definitely as a spiritual connection. The other thing too is that determination. Naruto is more vocal about his determination. I'm going to be Hokage one day, and Tanjiro is more like that he's determined that his sister will be recovered. So I think those things really match in the fact that they are battling darkness, whether they be demons in Demon Slayer or the bad people, or in Naruto, whether they be negative forces or Tatsuki.
The Akatsuki.
Yeah. Then it's kind of like they're both still on the good end of fighting things that seem like impossible.
Yeah.
And the other thing that that relates is that their skills. Now Tanjiro is still developing. He's still developing. We just watched the second season. Saw the movie. I saw the movie 3 times in the theater.
Oh yeah.
I bought it on Apple TV.
Yeah.
My sister came over. She saw it 3 times as well.
She is absolutely
we watched it again here.
So
I watched it 6 times.
Yeah.
Then 3 in the theater and 3 outside the theater. And one I wanted to share with you, and we kept telling you about. Oh, Demon Slayer! Gotta watch Demon Slayer. Gotta watch. Yeah, and I think too that it really satisfied that feeling that I got from Naruto, because I watched a couple of movies, and I think when you really latch on to an anime series or characters, it's to me it's so satisfying.
Yeah.
It brings me into another world. It's like reading a great book or series of books, and you're watching this develop.
So speaking on the Hokages, and of course Naruto's ever-longing dream of being Hokage, we did meet all previous Hokages.
Oh, yes.
They all got brought back to life by Orochimaru. So I just wanted to, ask you about your opinions on each one. We'll start with Hashirama.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Now, he's also seemed to me to be more of a pure spirit, right? Yeah. So I think if he really, I feel, tried to help in the beginning.
Yeah.
He really tried. And I think that he was more of a pureness. To me, he reminded me more of a good spirit.
Yeah.
Like a good spirit, and he was skilled. He was so skilled as well. So, yeah.
What about Tobirama?
Tobirama was almost like a flash, right? Because he like showed up, but he was more. I kind of remember, and I hope that I'm accurate in this, but he almost seemed like a complainer.
It's just,
Yeah, he was like a complainer, you know.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit of a complainer, and he didn't have the spirit of the first Hokage.
Yeah.
So that was the other thing.
Yeah.
And he was kind of, but they didn't really. So like when you look at the first Hokage, he had a lot of the third, of course, the fourth, obviously,
the fourth.
As brief as that was, you know, and then Tsunade's there for a long time. So then Kakashi.
And then Naruto.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
What do you think about Tsunade?
I think she was good, but I really wish her and Jiraiya, the fact that Jiraiya died before they could have some kind of recognition of each other, and that maybe that bond between them, even if it didn't have to develop into full love. But I kind of think that Jiraiya's philandering and his had a lot to do with not having the love he really wanted, which was Tsunade.
And going on to Tsunade, we did touch on this just a little bit earlier in the video, and we've touched on this topic a lot during our watch through, and seeing as you're a very proud feminist, very proud women's rights activist, who do you think was the most well-written female character? Who do you think was the least well-written female character, and what do you think overall could have been done better regarding the female characters?
Oh yeah, well, the female characters, I think more that the way I was raised is that you could do anything you want to do, and it wasn't so much a division between man versus woman, but it was more of a be the best person you can be. So in that sense, but I think Tsunade was developed, I think, more. But her, I can't even remember the name, but her assistant.
Shizune?
Yeah, Shizune was like, what's her story?
Shizune was there, and blink if you miss it.
Yeah, but she's just like there, standing behind her, or standing on the side of her with a little quake.
Yeah.
With a little piggy, right?
Yeah.
But it didn't really show anything.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that was never, that she's a mystery. She died a mystery after the 500 episodes. We don't really know much about her or what makes her special. But Tsunade, on the other hand, too, had this amazing gift of repair, of physical repair of the health of the body, right? So, and then even I remember when they had that huge fight with Orochimaru, and she called on her slug to come, and you remember they're fighting, and Naruto keeps going. She's like, "Stay away, kid! Like you can't do this or whatever." He goes, "I'm not giving up," and he got back up and he's getting ready to fight again.
Yeah.
And then at the end of that, he's gonna save her, right? So she gives him the necklace to wear, right? So I think that said a lot about her as well, and she was super strong, incredibly strong, and she had the gifts of healing, which she passed on also to Sakura, and I thought that was important. So she was really developed, but the assistant, she never. We don't even know. So I probably know less about her than Shikamaru's mom. I mean, I don't know anything about her.
Yeah,
that's it. I can't. I'm trying to think of also someone else that I would like to have seen is Asuma's
Koronai? Oh yeah, that's a really big that's Kakashi, Might Guy, Asuma, and Koronai. Those were like the trainers of all of the Konoha 11, and Koronai's barely.
See, they should have developed her. I think, and because I think at one point they see. You see her watering the flowers, and they're going to come to tell her that Asuma's died. And, that was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Here she is with his child. And Asuma, he's going to tell Kakashi something, remember?
Yeah, yeah.
And then somebody approaches, and he's not able to.
Yeah.
And then he dies. So you can't even get the satisfaction of him talking to Kakashi about his baby, that the baby that's going to be born. But yeah, I think she was really underdeveloped as well. I think a lot of the females were not, but I think, I can understand that it was more male focused.
Yeah.
But there's something to be said about all these healers out in in the field with the
Yeah.
shinobis.
Yeah.
They're shinobi too, but
Yeah. I think, staying on the same topic, I think during maybe the tuning exams during Ino and Sakura's fight, and I think during the war as well, there were a lot of feats with Ino.
Right.
Ino had a lot of feats in the war. She took control of the Ten Tails for just a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think you said she's explored like a lot of somewhat maturity.
Yeah.
In the face of her fight with Sakura. What do you think? What's your full opinion on Ino?
On Ino, I think Ino was the fact that Sakura didn't like her, or that had problems with her during the the series. It was kind of misaligned, right? Because Ino, I thought, was she had skills, she had some maturity. She was there for Sakura when Sakura was like where people like didn't like her or didn't accept her or didn't absorb her into the group, and she had her back basically and gave her that ribbon, I remember. And then Sakura's mean later too. She like takes it off and she like, throws it away or whatever. She the thing is, I think that Ino had skill, she had beauty, she had heart, she had guts. She had and then she has an amazing mind skill, right? So, and then also all of these people put together, it's almost like they say it takes a village to raise a child, but it takes a village to protect a village. It's like everybody had their skills, and a lot of Native people believe that too. So even in my own upbringing, one of the things it says that everybody's born with their gifts, right? Yeah. And these gifts are unique to you as a human being. So whatever those gifts are, they're yours. They're yours and planted by in your as your birthright, basically.
I remember, when we were watching the Pain storyline, and it was, Kakashi's like fake out death when he actually died. And, instead of being sad, like I kind of really thought you were angry because you were like, there's no more endearing characters left. And you were like, Tsunade, she's a bitch. How dare you? And you just went off on like the state of the female characters in Naruto. And like, I just kind of had to agree. Yeah.
And you already knew that he was going to come back to life.
Yeah, and I
right?
already, don't worry.
But I think for me, I was like, you killed Jiraiya, now you're going to kill Kakashi, and I love Jiraiya too, so it's like, oh, now what? I mean, I couldn't live without Jiraiya, Asuma, and without Kakashi. I was done with that show.
Absolutely
I was
devastated.
so mad, but of course he comes back.
Yeah.
So thank goodness for that.
There is a very controversial death in Naruto. Neji's. The way Neji went out, a lot of people see it as like a little bit of a step back on his character because he dies. Even though he's dying protecting his cousin who he loves, they still see it as like, he's still dying protecting the main branch, which he so desperately wanted to escape from, So I just wanted to know your opinion on his death.
No, I think he was beyond that. I do. I mean, of course, Neji dying was also very sad, but I also think it's not about the main branch or the side branch. It's what do we do as human beings. I think if I was protecting somebody that I loved, that all of that other stuff that wouldn't matter. It's just my instincts are to protect. My instincts are to be there and to sacrifice if it means to my death. I am going to do everything in my power to protect somebody that I love. And so Neji in his to his character, I don't think it was about the main branch or the side branch. It's not none of that. He was beyond that already. And I think when he saved his cousin, he saved his cousin. He saved and and I think too a lot of times some of the traditional thinking or more traditional conservative thinking is that the man saved the woman, but I do think that he saved somebody that he loved. And just and that I don't think it had anything to do with the other thing. It's just that's his cousin, and she's younger. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And he was well trained. He was like
he was a
fit to
Jonin.
be-
He was
Jonin, and then and he saved his cousin, but I don't think it has to do with that. I just think I'm sure maybe the main branch survived, but it wasn't out of. That's not like a decision that he said in my head. Oh, let me save the main branch. You know.
Yeah.
It was more like I'm fighting for my cousin, and as many of those characters, they were all shinobi.
Yeah.
They were all shinobi. They're ready to stand and give their life and fight for for the protection of the village and for others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you are one of the superior judges of Los Angeles County.
Yeah.
And I remember when we were first started watching Naruto, and we were watching the Zabuza arc with him and Haku. I remember you were talking about, your job as a judge and, judging on the people. And
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm really phrasing this question right, but is there any really real connection you can make this to?
The connection, yeah. I'm the only Native American judge in the state of California. And then I've been in Los Angeles for 15 years, over 15 years. So, So I think what I see is a couple of things. First, I was a teenage welfare mother.
Yeah.
And I went to from $400 a month and subsidized housing, commodity foods, being very, very poor, taking the 2 buses to my law school, to becoming someone who's making a very good income. But in between, what's the story in between, right? All the work. And so I think when I think about my own life and how people, they'll just sometimes dismiss you. You could be doing something great, but it's not my way not to be humble. It's like you never brag about what you're doing and where you don't do that. You go forward, and you do that with faith and with the universe behind you and your family. And I'm grateful for everybody, because all the people that participate in my life. And what I think what sparked me the most is not making sure that my son didn't grow up in poverty. I did not want that for him. And at some point, even though it was much later, we got out of poverty. I think I graduated from law school when he was 9. And so I think as a judge, you see people all the time. And I preside over a criminal calendar, and I think what you see is a lot of people that are hurt. They're hurt in life, But I also feel like as I said, we all possess gifts. Sometimes those gifts are squashed. Sometimes those gifts are not developed or nurtured. Sometimes someone might have beautiful gifts, but they're not encouraged. And whether that happens in school or at home, but where there's historical trauma, I think. And so when I look at people in court, I don't see them as bad people, for those, or the victims as good people, or I see everyone as a potential. The potential of what could be, the potential of what, if they only knew about their gifts, if someone had only nurtured them or encouraged them or supported them, or even I think when you think about that, you can kind of see that in the Naruto characters, and even Tanjiro, right? Because he trains, and everybody has given something for them, for others, and I think that's the way to live. You probably, there's no way to live a satisfying life unless you're actually actively trying to make the world better somehow. It can just be one person at a time. And so when people come to my court, I try to, we're in this dilemma of a physical world, right? And rules and laws, but if you've been around long enough, you kind of figure out how to bend those things, or how to make something happen, or how to propose something alternative. And like in these shows, they're very much so like where people will judge somebody from one day, like I said, the biggest turnaround for me is like it's hope. Look at Gaara. Things change, and so there's every human being has the potential to live to their gifts, to live up to their gifts. And I see that in court, I see that in life, I see that everywhere. And so it's no far stretch that Naruto or Tanjiro would be, that I would love them, right? Because I see them striving for these gifts and to live up to them, and also to have courage. People are so afraid to live up to their gifts because other people will tell them they can't make money at that, or it's not the right path, or you got to be practical. You got to be practical, but come on, you got to love what you do, or you're never going to be happy. And I love what I do because I love what I do. It's not so much the law, it's the people. Every day I'm in an open forum. Anyone could come to court and see you, just watch you. If they wanted to, if they're court watchers or people that want to do. And the other thing too is that, so I meet people all the time throughout these 15 years, thousands of people, whether they be lawyers or defendants or witnesses or experts or victims or somebody, training in the law, or coming to watch the trial because it's something they want to do, or interns, or so I have people all around me all the time, and I'm just fascinated by human nature, and I share with people without, like, even here, just I can cry when I feel sad. I don't feel embarrassed. I can laugh when I want to laugh, and of course, in court, I'm appropriate. But I talk to people all the time about what they're doing and about maybe something they should think about, or I try to give them some information or advice, and even some things that I'm not supposed to do, like encourage them to go to job training and giving them some information.
This question is a little bit late. Maybe I should have asked this one a little bit sooner. But Obito, I remember when we first watched those two Kakashi flashback episodes, and it looked like Obito had died, and you were devastated by that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and then you figure out that this guy who's been claiming to be Madara the whole time is actually Obito, and I just want to ask you, what was that shock? What was that shock to you? What were you feeling in that moment when you realized that?
Well, I kind of felt, when he died, or when I thought he died, and he gave his eye to Kakashi, I really loved him. I loved him because he talked about, he said that White Fang was a hero.
Yeah.
Right? So his perspective, even though other people's perspective was wrong or off or different, he had the courage to say that. He told his friend, White Fang was a hero, and it's like you abandon your friend. So Kakashi's going by the rules because his dad was shunned for being a great human being.
Yeah.
And you have to have sometimes the courage to be a great human being, even though others may not like what you're doing, or if you're befriending somebody that is marginalized or not liked, and I remember even when I was a lawyer, I know I'm kind of going off the subject, but that there were a lot of the strange people would gravitate to me. And so the reason I thought that too is because I'm not dismissive of people. I love people. My name, Shakshwala Kuku, means she loves the people. My Smuich name. And I do. And so I think too that when he died, that was just crushing. It was crushing, and it was crushed for Kakashi too, because he learned something from him that changed his life, right? He learned something from him. And also to Kakashi's favor, he came back on his own. But it's something Obito told him that created that. But when he came back, I I kind of felt like it did an injustice to his memory because he was such a good person. And then later, you know, you kind of see this metamorphosis of...
And how Madara manipulated
Yes,
him.
how he manipulated him and lied to him, right? But it also kind of shows it's reflective of human vulnerability. So if somebody tells you something, oh, that guy said this, or this girl said that, or that guy's laughing at you, and you know, it's true or maybe not true, but what's the purpose in telling you that, right? So there's a manipulation also going on, and you might know something, and if that person's not a good friend and they're telling you, why are they telling you that? Why are they saying it? And so there's a lot of things about, you know, people that lie, that manipulate. It's kind of like you really have to be strong in your heart and go by your own judgment, you know. And that was kind of sad for him too, to have him be manipulated, especially because he's such a beautiful perspective and heart, you know. And I think the things that made him happiest is when he was imagined himself as a young boy running through the fields holding hands, or you know,
with Rin.
Yeah, and then Rin was always you know, she watched over him. She took care of him, and I think I can understand being devastated by her death, you know, but and then also, but the perspective of what was happening, right? So he didn't really understand the full encounter between Kakashi and Rin,
because it looked like Kakashi.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like, to me, that's also like court. It's like sometimes there's always a story underneath, and you have to really pay attention and have good senses about it, you know, in terms of judgment of what's true and what's not true.
Yeah.
Because people won't always tell you the whole story.
Yeah. So I think this is our last question, and it's about our native roots, Native Americans, the Chumash tribe. I wanted to ask you if you could find maybe any relation from Naruto, you know, any ideals, any Chumash stories or anything like that you can relate to maybe Naruto.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that one of the reasons, I think, as a Native person, why I felt so drawn to these characters is there was a lot of things. One of them was tradition, right? So you know, and the gifts I mentioned. So I think Native Americans, you know, it's a common theme among many tribes that with the understanding that everyone has gifts and they're not all the same, and I don't have to be good at everything. I develop my own gift. You develop your gift. You develop your gift. You know, and with those gifts together we stand strong, right? So I think that's another thing. It's tradition. It's also I think there was a lot of humor in there. And I think too that part of the medicine of living a good life is to have humor. There's a time to grieve. There's a time to celebrate. There's a time for fun. And there's a time for healing. And there's all those things, you know. And then we had great healers. We had great philosophers. We had great warriors. We had great, you know, people that connected with their plants, with animals, with, you know, all of those things. And you see that connection also with animals through all of the different characters have connections with everything from slugs and snakes and toads and dogs, right? So you have all these bugs, you know, right? So there's all those connections too, and I think too for Native people, we have those connections. And when I talk about relatives, when I'm saying all my relations, liakikikich means all my relations. That means everything. That means from the creepy crawlers to the birds in the sky to all the four-leggeds and the two-leggeds. Those are my relations. The plants, they're also relations. And so when we talk about creation, all of those things are Sakura, for example, and Tsunade were also had a connection with the plants, right? Because these are the medicines that would heal, and you have to know those things. So you had all these people in these shows that were connected to animals, plants, the earth style, for example.
Oh, yeah.
Where the earth and all of those things are part of native beliefs and philosophies and ways of being.
Well, I want to thank you so much for doing this interview and joining us here today. I'm sure that the community was really happy to hear your perspective. And do you have any closing thoughts?
Yeah, just the only thing I would say is that every single thing that we saw in Naruto, someone created, and that spark of life that's given to these characters, they really exist in someone, because you cannot think of it unless you've felt it or seen it. And so it makes perfect sense to fall in love with characters in anime. There's nothing, I'm the first one to say that I love anime. Like I said, I have my phone and I have my little statue with Kakashi. He's in my room usually.
Yeah.
But these are things that because they're so reflective of humanity and our frailties as human beings, and also our braveries, our courage, our also, I think, our insecurities, all of those things are reflected in anime.
Yeah.
So yes, I can laugh with Naruto. I can say, that's terrible. I can't believe the writers killed that person. I can cry when someone dies, and I can relive it here on this video.
Yeah.
Those feelings all over again.
Well, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and have a great day.